I would begin the meeting and ask everyone to rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening.
Okay.
All right.
That's a chair roll.
I'd like to start with the roll call of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. Patrice Scott is present. Butch Cushing.
Present.
Tom McLaughlin.
Present.
David Kent.
Present.
Stephanie Halter.
Here.
Okay, and our alternate, Jack Scarborough.
Here.
Present. Great. Thank you. Has everyone had a chance of looking over the minutes of July 3rd? Since we didn't have two meetings. I've looked through them. I haven't found any corrections or additions. Anybody else? Anything to add or change?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, second, Dave. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. All right, now we are here this evening for 3 public hearings. I'd just like to announce to our audience that we will be beginning, if you have your agenda in front of you, we're going to reverse at the request of the presenter, case number 1 with case number 3. So our first case that will be coming forward is case number 212046, special exception 10-0218. That's the third one listed on your agenda. Okay, and that is for the convenience of the parties. So I would ask the presenter, Kevin French, to come forward and let us hear the application.
More maps. Has it changed from the one you gave us before?
No, these are just a, I don't think they're any different than the ones you had before, but they're just showing a rendition of the entire property.
Thank you.
And this is a property, Riverside Landing, which you're all familiar with. It's a junction of Highland Street and Tenny Mountain Highway. And at this point, we're asking a special exception just to allow 2 principal commercial uses to be on the same lot. As the present rule stands, each use is supposed to be on its own particular parcel. Just to familiarize you with it, this is the Bank of New Hampshire, McDonald's, the Marriott Hotel, and the liquor store, and this is where the approved Irving site is. What we wish to do is have the liquor store and this proposed market on the same parent parcel. And the reason for that, there's a number of reasons, but one of them is that in doing that in a more cluster fashion, it just allows for better development of the property and allows you to create more interworkings of utilities and things like that, and sidewalks. By putting the lot lines in, then it poses setbacks which may be favorable in a residential development. Not really, that doesn't work that well in a commercial setting. We've had to do it over here, and as a result, we have lot lines that go, down the road and things like that. We're looking to eliminate that type of thing so that we can do a more combined effort in terms of parking and things like that. The reason that I bring this one up is because in this one, my next one is a similar request, but this one we actually have we know the users, even though that isn't a paramount concern to this. In this case, we know. I mean, the liquor store is presently there, and this supermarket is going to be a proposed market basket store that will be coming through the planning process as well. And so basically just going through the list of requirements for this, this is an appropriate use, an area for this use. It's commercial, it's zoned in that area. has all the utilities for it. Will be at signalized intersections, and it is in keeping with the types of uses that are already there. One of the things about it in terms of the character of the area, we know what these are, they're already there, and this building will be kept in the same type of style. It'll be a colonial type of style. In fact, we have some renderings of what that would look like if you're interested. Again, these are site plan issues, but questions come up, so.
Oh, thanks.
Looks like the one I'm telling you.
Because of the, the architecture will be in keeping with that, it'll keep the same character that's in that neighborhood. The other question that comes up is nuisance or hazards. Would allowing two buildings to be on the same lot cause any nuisance? And you can't see that it would cause any. It's actually, it's an improvement, because like I said, it allows you to integrate utilities and sidewalks and traffic flow better. And the road is it's controlled by, the access points, of course, are controlled and approved by DOT, so all of that would have to come through at site plan review anyway. There is no, as far as burden to town services, which is another question, again, all of the inner workings here is, this, it's kept a private site, and those are ground leases, so all the snow removal, maintenance, things like that are carried on this building's just like they would be if they were on an individual lot. So there really is no difference there. And that kind of falls into the last thing, the effect on public health and safety. These are good uses, and again, will meet all of the site plan requirements that will be imposed by the planning board. So the commercial developments as a whole don't take many town services anyway. That just, the basic question here, premise here is just to allow those multiple commercial buildings on the same lot.
Okay, does anyone on the board have a question
I have one.
for Mr. French? Dave?
Way back in the beginning, you said something about signal.
Yeah, I wanted to know if there's
What
going
do
to
you
be a
mean?
light.
Signal.
Well, the traffic flow is controlled by the signals of the DOT. DOT controls that and approves that.
But the new entry, you're not considering another red light, are you?
That at this point, I don't know about that. That's again a site plan review. But again, that will go through the DOT process and is to a large point, that's driven, no pun intended, driven by them.
Is there, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm all done.
Okay. Can you drive from the McDonald's site through to the other gray, or would that be blocked like it is?
No, will all be interconnected.
All be
Right,
interconnected, so
right.
people could turn at that light or go out to the other intersection to get out.
Right, yeah.
So in some ways, there's still a primary intersection, so I don't know that they would make a light, but it's a very high chance.
Depends
And
on
again,
what- Depends on what goes across the
that's,
street.
It does depend on.
That, like I said, that's a site plan issue, and that's a
So just
DOT.
Go ahead.
just to be clear, so you got the liquor store and the supermarket and the gas stations all on one lot?
No, actually, right now, the gas station is on its own lot. That
That's
lot,
on its own lot?
Yeah, that
So it's
lot's-
only the liquor store and the,
right. At this
Oh, I see.
point, this would be 2 on this parent piece, which, by the way, is 63 and a half acres, so.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, I felt the same way. Everybody heard that light and other stuff, like,
And the other thing is, as a personal thing, I've brought in a number of these myself. This is something that is kind of prevalent throughout town. It's, you can go from one end of the town to the other, but, the last chair has 2 uses on it. I think we did it at Boulder Point. Town West has 3. I'll forget some of them, but Hannaford's has 3 buildings, separate buildings there. And there's a couple others that I'm forgetting, and actually I have to bring another one in another month or 2 for, this is a common theme. And actually, as we move forward, it would be nice if we could kind of, bring that into more of a site plan issue, because it does work a lot better for development. And it seems, the other thing is, it's kind of a trend now, moving forward, is more commercial entities want their own building. And they're moving away from I could have one building here with 80 uses in it, and it would be, be compliant. But the trends are moving away from that. If you go to Concord and you look, everybody's putting up their own thing, and you walk into the Steeplegate Mall, and it's, pretty empty, so.
Madam Chair, I had
That's
taken
great.
the liberty of marking all the properties on Tenny Mountain Highway that had more than
Whoa.
one principal structure. If you'd want to take a look at that.
Will they have sidewalks in this development now, since it's getting so expanded?
Yeah, I believe so. Again, that's a site plan
Yeah.
thing, but in this area, there are sidewalks that interconnect. And I would suspect that would continue. Certainly the parking and drive-through and everything else, vehicular traffic, so.
Yes.
Right,
That's-
how about
that's the picture.
sidewalks on the periphery, on the outside along Tenny Mountain Highway? Is there any plan to do that?
That'd be a site plan issue.
Right, I understand that, but I'm just wondering.
I don't know.
I'm just wondering,
I
it
don't-
seems to me nobody ever considers that basically, it would be great for walkability if we had, we have the whole village up there, we have apartments, that wouldn't it be nice if people could walk down Highland Street and be able to access all of these stores and restaurants and
Oh, sure.
things? Yes.
We are looking at the possibility of continuing this sidewalk past Burger King to the present intersection. Also, at site plan review, the applicants are always urged to consider internal circulation and connectability of their property with others, because people are seeing more and more pedestrians along Tenny Mountain Highway.
Right. I've seen a lot, and it's really a scary thing to have to walk along Tenny Mountain Highway with the traffic the way it is.
No
So,
crosswalks on 25.
no crosswalks and a lot of speeding cars. So I just wanted to bring it up, and I'd like to see
Yep.
that in the
And I'm-
future, that we could
I'm sure
consider
it'll be
that.
mentioned again, and that's fine. That's, that'll all be.
Yeah, that's
part
not
of it.
within our purview.
Obviously, going through the planning board and the site plan process is, going to be a much bigger bite at this apple, so.
Right. And could you just explain, Kevin, why, I understand that there's a difference in what the parent parcel that the liquor store is on, that they're different from the other parcels that are all separate entities, that they bought the land basically, and there's a reason why the liquor store doesn't do that, because it's a state?
No, actually, they're moving more towards ground lease type of things, is what they
Right.
want to do.
Toward a leased building, so.
Yeah, and again, for development purposes, it really does, it makes it for commercial use. It makes it a lot cleaner. You can tighten things up better. Some of the times the problems is lot lines impose other things that are, counterintuitive to good planning for commercial development, where you want to continue sidewalks and parking and underground utilities and stuff like that. So,
Okay.
that basically is one of the reasons why. And like I said, a lot of, as we go, as I'll reiterate in the next one, a lot of the people that are, the entities that come in looking for commercial space are looking for that. They're not looking necessarily to buy the land and the lot anymore as much as they are to, maybe just do leases. So it's a little more conducive to that.
Okay.
Kevin?
Dave?
Where this lets out, near the Irving station, what's across the road there? You've got another road going out.
This over here,
Yep.
if that was just to show, the next application that I have is for this property over here. So we just wanted to show that if, in the development of that property, DOT's already said that access would be across from here.
They're not lined up straight, though, are they?
Not perfectly.
Well, I think again, that's a site plan issue, but I think that configuration will be approved, by the state, and they have said that those have to, line up within a certain, certain angle, and,
Well, it is a safety issue.
right.
That's one of the things we look at.
Right. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions from the board? And now I will open the public hearing and ask if there's anybody in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this application. Yes, sir, please identify yourself.
My name is Peter French, and my wife and I have a commercial piece of property on the same street, Townhouse Road. From my observation, they've done a great job with that development in that little area. The traffic has its own connection with a stoplight, which we have plenty of on that street, but it does slow down the traffic. Not that we want a lot more stoplights, but what they've done so far is attractive. And above all, we need tax base in this town. For the infrastructure, there isn't a lot of tax base. There's a lot of eleemosynary from the college and other sources, medical, the college. And we need a good, strong tax base to support our infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Bonnie Sears, I live on 27 Steel Drive, and I'm in a butter, and I know that area very well, and I think Plymouth needs something like this, and it would be great for so many reasons. Tax base. It would be another choice of where to shop without going out of town. It would create so many good jobs for a lot of people. I just don't see a downside to it. I'm all for it.
Okay, great.
Steel Drive, you're like across the river.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anyone? Frank?
Yeah, Frank Miller. I stand in support of the application. This has been long in coming, this plan of this whole area. I believe it's in keeping with our intention of our master plan and our zoning ordinance and things that we have envisioned for the appropriate use of that property in that part of town. And I'd like to see it approved.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Anyone else? Okay, I would ask if there's anybody, yes, Brian, you reminded me, there are 2 letters that have, I was asked to read into the record. The first one is from La France Hospitality Company. Dear Mrs. Scott, I represent the ownership group that owns and operates the Fairfield Inn and Suites by Marriott located at 12 Ridgeview Lane, Plymouth. Mr. McGinley has informed me that he is seeking a special exception from the Zoning Board of Adjustment to develop a 70,000-plus square foot retail store to be built on the same lot as the State of New Hampshire liquor store. Furthermore, it's my understanding that the existing zoning ordinances do not allow 2 buildings to be constructed on one lot without the approval of the ZBA. I wish to express our support of Mr. McGinley's application for the above-referenced special exception and welcome the addition of another retail establishment to join the campus that has been created at Riverside Landing. Please feel free to contact me. Thank you. Mr. Jeff Pinault, La France Hospitality. Okay, now we have a second letter dated September 27th from Sandra Martell, McDonald's, USA, Regional Portfolio Manager. Dear Ms. Scott, it has come to my attention that our landlord and/or property owner, Mr. Michael McGinley, is seeking a special exception from the Zoning Board of Adjustment to develop a new retail food store with 70,000-plus square feet to be built on a lot of land abutting the McDonald's restaurant, which also houses the new State of New Hampshire liquor store. Per the zoning ordinance code, 2 buildings on one lot is not allowed without ZBA approval. I write to express McDonald's support of the application as we welcome the addition of a quality retail store into Riverside Landing. And if, again, contact information if we have any questions. Sandra Martell. Okay, so I wanted to read them into the record. They specifically requested to be read in All those are in support. Now, I would ask if there's anybody in our audience who has any objection to the proposed application. Okay, seeing none, I would ask if anybody has any neutral comments to make about the application. Okay, I see no hands, so I will close the public hearing. Say thank you. Now it's up to the board. Would you like to discuss, or would you like to go into findings of fact?
I have one more question.
Okay, Butch,
Kevin?
for Kevin?
Mr. French, how many parking spots are here? Do you know roughly?
I don't remember
Okay.
offhand.
It says here 341
Okay, 341?
total parking spaces shown. 6 van ADA and 4 standard ADA.
Okay.
Okay, that's what's proposed, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, you got that, Butch? Anything else? All right, then why don't we start with our findings of fact?
That it's use allowed by special exception.
Yep, use allowed by special exception. How about lot size? Lot size of 71.95 acres.
It'd be shared with the liquor store.
Shared with State of New Hampshire liquor store. Okay,
I mean, you can talk about Brian's map, he did a good job there putting that together, but that like bites both ways sometimes.
what's that?
That there's a lot of other lots that have that have got a special exception for this.
Oh, right.
So, but there are a lot of other lots that have gotten a special exception for that. I don't think that forces our hand, but.
No.
No, but
It
it's,
weighs in.
yeah, it's a fact that there's a existing, this proposed, how about proposed development will be adjacent to Riverside Landing, which is also already developed, right? Landing? Okay, so I can see the, what's the right way to put that? Economy of scale, I guess, when we already have roads and infrastructure going into a development. To me, it doesn't, I don't think, usually I don't like the idea of two uses on one parcel, but I think this fits within the context of Riverside Landing, and the development that already has multi-uses there.
Patrice?
Yes?
Since we're supposed to look at safety as one of the issues, I got at least to have a finding that there's a misalignment between the exit and the thing across the road, and it's alleged that that's going to be taken up in the planning process.
Okay, I think, what I think would be appropriate would to add a condition that the,
Right.
that the safety issue is resolved by DOT. That's really not within our
Well,
uh,
the safety is right there.
yeah, safety concerns. So we're concerned about what's shown to us on the map as a misalignment, and that we would want that corrected by DOT and the site plan review.
Yeah, I don't want to vote against this because of that.
Yeah, okay, so why don't we add that as a condition, Dave? I think that would be good. Resolve misalignment, apparent misalignment, anyway. These are just preliminary designs, I know that. Apparent misalignment of, and what do you call that? The,
Well, it's the exit,
Entrance and exit.
the exit by the proposed gas station.
The intersection.
of intersection, of proposed intersection.
Western access.
With Tenny Mountain Highway.
Highway near,
Course, this thing really isn't to scale, huh?
convenient,
Which
right.
If you look at it, it looks like the primary entrance, but given the existing light and the flow, it might not be. But
Right. Right, so it's just, but that's definitely something that we want to make sure is taken care of. So I think that's the right way to do it, is to condition that.
And finding of facts, maybe, they will have access to the light. The roads will be
Yes, people
Uh,
will
inter-
be able to go
Yeah.
through.
Okay, so
travel through.
interconnecting,
From the existing parking lot, maybe? And,
interconnection between two,
because right now it's blocked, right?
interconnection between proposed development site
And
with existing.
Retail area, retail
Right,
space.
Riverside Landing, access exists.
I think you ought to have a
So what are
finding.
these white things? Are they like cement curbs there?
Yeah, probably.
You know, the white, these here,
What's that?
they like cement pieces,
Yeah,
the curbing? They're
Yeah.
like curbing, they're like
Yeah.
little islands?
yeah, yeah.
Reese,
Yeah.
do we have a finding that all the public input was positive?
Yes.
Sure, yep, public
5
input.
supporters in the 2 letters. I think, does that take it to 5?
Input, all supportive, 5 adhering, plus 2 letters,
And no objections or neutral.
no objections. Let's make a finding about lot size adequately provides ample parking spaces, along with, I don't know if we need to put along with the liquor store what's already present, or just ample parking spaces. Okay, let's see.
The fact that there's 2 lots, 2 buildings on one lot, they're separated by a significant amount of space. So it really doesn't negatively impact.
Okay, let's, lot, acreage, let's say acreage, amply supports second building proposed. Okay.
Do you want to make a finding about it being suited for the area, that the buildings seem to be in line with existing
Okay, yep, design
development?
in keeping with existing development. And what did he called that something? Like, is it colonial or? Kevin, what did you call the design,
What's that?
The facade?
the facade, what is? did you-
Colonial?
Colonial,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
In
Does-
keeping with the other stuff. that was
Okay,
done.
so New England colonial or colonial design in keeping with existing development? Okay,
How about the fact that the landowner is going to provide the infrastructure? Water and sewer,
Oh,
electricity.
yeah, it's gonna
Do
be
we
on
know that?
public infrastructure,
yeah,
as opposed to
So that-
leach fields and stuff, so what you mean? Yeah, the lot is accessible to public water and sewer, public utilities.
right, yes. Public water and sewer is available.
It will be connected in, won't it, Kevin?
What's that?
Sewer's going to be public sewer, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, public water and sewer accessible to site. Okay. Do we want to make a finding of suitability of development for tax base, or?
Oh, well, it's gonna fix our tax base?
Well, it's not going to fix it, but it's going to add to it. It's going to add to it.
Nobody's opposed, I think
Yeah,
it's probably sufficient.
Okay. All right, we won't add that.
Sounds nice, but
All right, anything else? And I would say we should go down our criteria. All right, number 1, the proposed uses shall be only those allowed in this ordinance by special exception. We'll start with Tom.
I agree.
Okay, Stephanie.
True.
True?
True.
True?
Okay. The specific site is an appropriate location and of adequate size for the use.
True.
True.
True?
True.
True.
Okay. The use as developed will not adversely affect the character of the area in which the proposed use will be located.
True.
True.
I believe that's true.
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 Okay, there will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians.
True.
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 310 cars.
Think
Think about it,
It
300.
didn't say it won't have any impact on it.
Right.
Just says it won't be a
Vehicles and
nuisance or serious
Nuisance or serious
hazard.
hazard, and I,
As much as we don't like it, there will be a light there. True.
Oh, of course.
I'm
Given the
sure there will
condition,
be a
all-
light.
True.
okay, yeah, with the condition, true, exactly. Number
Condition of
five,
the alignment.
yes, the condition of the alignment, yep.
You know something, I don't know if you should be dictating that has to be aligned. I mean, the DOT is the one who's gonna
right.
completely decide what
That's all
happens.
we said, Tom.
Right,
Huh?
yeah,
That's
we
all
just
we
want to
said.
draw attention to it. That's
Oh,
a safety
okay.
concern, but it's not our, it's not our.
It's just not to
yeah,
do with us or the
Right.
the
Yeah,
planning
no,
board
they'll
or
solve it, they'll
anybody.
solve the problem,
Okay.
but we just want to highlight it, that's all. Five, the use will not place excessive or undue burden on town services and facilities.
I don't think so. True.
I think true.
I believe that's true.
True.
Have you met with the water board?
Planning board,
The water
Water.
board.
the water board,
Water board. Are we waterboarding people now?
That's too much of a fun.
they have been kept abreast, we don't envision any problems.
Okay.
True.
Okay. True. And six, there would be no significant effect resulting from such use upon the public health, safety, and general welfare of the neighborhood in which the use would be located.
True.
True.
I believe that's true.
True.
Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to,
Make a motion to approve the application?
okay.
Second.
Butch, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Butch, second. All right, well, that's number one. Well, actually, number three on our agenda is special exception granted with the condition that we resolve the safety issue that we perceive at the intersection with the site board, site plan review, and with DOT. Okay? All right. Now we will look at our second application, which is also presented by Mr. French. That is case number 212019 SE 10-0218, a request by owner Mike McGinley through his agent for a special exception from Article 4, General Provisions, Section 401.1 of our ordinance, allowing two structures on two primary structures on a lot. Okay, now this involves the property across the street from what we were just talking about, across from Riverside Landing, and the property that goes around Harris Family Furniture. Let Mr. French explain the outlay.
Kevin's got a big cup here.
Get rid of the old, get rid of the new.
Read that.
Killing some trees here tonight.
That's Hobby Lobby.
Who's got the best eyes?
My
I
magnifying
got
glass.
big glasses if you want them.
Let's see, let's see.
Here's my magnifiers.
Hey, Dave, it's lined up on this one.
Try that, does it help?
Future
So we just moved the
retail.
papers.
Oh, okay, just says future retail, thanks.
There you go.
Future retail.
It's a little bigger.
This is a, more of a conceptual question on this one because we don't have a specific user per se yet. And what the question, the reason we're bringing this forward is because there is interest being shown in this property as well. And the same question keeps coming up, is can the property be used and developed as one and have the more than one building on the lot and do it as more of a commercial cluster type of thing than individual lots. One of the things about this property is it's really, it's about 25 acres, and it's kind of a residual piece that was a much larger piece at one time, and a lot of the front pieces were taken off, so it's very irregular in shape, and as a result, it isn't as conducive to individual lots. And in going forward, some of the inquiries that Mr. McGinley's had has been for, kind of a similar thing with pad sites and just individual, ground lease units. To that end, we brought it forward because we'd like to be able to basically tell people coming that, yes, this is something we can do. And we don't have that's why I brought the other one first. We had specific people in mind for that, and this is more of a concept plan going forward to be able to, market the property and develop the property in that manner going forward. In that, basically it has the same factors involved as the one across the street. Again, instead of dividing it into lots, we're looking at doing it as one entity with just, instead of one building put together, we're looking at, and we don't know, it may be 2, it might be 5. And we're trying to do plan a development going forward that works in that manner.
Is there adequate road frontage in this one?
But I think you
Well,
said 594 feet.
Is there's adequate road frontage. There's road frontage here to get into the lot, and then there's actually road frontage there that is basically, it's frontage, but it's unusable. Okay, they can't access. That was the old part of Highland Street when it used to, Y instead of the intersection that they have now. So basically, it would be serviced by the road that would have an improved alignment at the time it was put in, and that would service this whole area. So it would, if we did it as individual lots, that's another point. If we did it in individual lots, we'd have to create roads in there just for frontage, and that's not really conducive to, a good commercial development. It's much better to be able to use, common parking, again, common utilities and things like that.
Kevin, did I misunderstand something? You said it might be 2, it might be 5?
Yeah,
Okay, so what you're saying, you're asking for a special exception to put just one thing on a second.
Really what we're looking to do is to get and I don't know if it's possible to get an approval or a conceptual thing to say, yes, we can have more than one building on this particular property. Because again, and I wish I did. I wish I knew if I had 3 users that used it up. Because originally this property was, at one time it was the Home Depot site. And they were going to, again, have one building because that's what they do. And we don't have a, 110,000 square foot user, and everybody's looking to have individual places on their.
So you want it to be like a multi-use lot, like that?
Yeah, something like that. And it's like, is a similar thing to, like across the street, or as an example, like Hannaford's and Marshall's. That's 3 buildings on the lot. They share the parking and share the entrances, so that it makes it better for, continuity of snow plowing. You don't have setbacks that you have to separate the lots from. And I understand the the one building on a lot and a residential thing. It's just when I'm running into this all the time in commercial applications.
I got a couple of questions, Patrice.
Okay. Yep, you done?
No, I'm all set. It does it.
Okay. All right, Dave?
So the application that says Home Depot, it's not for Home Depot.
What's that? No.
So Home Depot ought to be off the picture then. Because in one of the documents, it says Home Depot.
Okay, well, okay, didn't mean to have that on there. That
Okay.
was just the original one. It showed that, basically, that was showing that one building was,
And we'd be approving this for up from 2 to 5 units, is that, 2 to 5 independent buildings?
again, I don't know as it would be up to 5. I don't know. I'm just looking, we were looking to see if we could get some leeway to develop the site in more of a cluster, commercial cluster form than individual lots.
The third question is, you've got a connection here between Harris's and the parking lot for this place.
Mm-hmm.
What's their position on this?
Well, again, that's a site plan issue, and and I know before, when it was done with Home Depot, there was going to be connected for that road to Harris Furniture. So I would assume, going through the site plan review thing, that we'd be doing the same thing.
Was in here?
And again, like I said, I wish I had the uses and what they needed on here, but we don't know that yet, and we're looking to develop the site moving forward.
Okay, Kevin, I just want to clarify that the special exception that you've applied for is to allow 2 primary structures on a lot, okay?
Right.
So I'm just getting a little confused. I know we don't know exactly who or what or when they wants to come in, but I'm just, as far as us considering granting a special exception to a parcel, it's specifically to allow 2 primary structures on a lot.
Right, I realize that.
Okay, so that way, and that grant would be for a certain period of time, and then if something didn't go forward, then that
Get a year.
resolve,
Yeah,
right?
I realize, when we did the application, we would
Yeah.
think
Okay.
too, but,
So
Okay,
what is the application then? Is it 2?
well, we'd like to make it, up to, 3 or 4 or 5 or something like that. We're really looking to develop it in a more commercial cluster manner than,
I mean, we allow 6-unit buildings.
I don't mind it.
And
It's just
that's,
that
no, I
that's
know,
not
I
what
know,
the
I'm just saying that
application
that's kind of the cap that we've got in this town,
Yeah.
which be right or wrong. But, I mean, that's why I don't really have a problem if he wants to say, whether he wants to say 2 or wants to say 5 or 6, I mean, it's, his market's the one that's gonna determine how many go in there.
I think, though, that we should have the knowledge of exactly what's gonna go in before we give just carte blanche
right,
permission to
right.
do that.
right.
I think you have to have a
Well,
clear idea.
I understand that, but he's not able to get that. And if we say 2, then, it'd be nice if we could say, well, subject to further review.
Right, well,
No.
definitely, I mean, I don't
Because that's the
feel,
way
I think
it
it
gets
might be a little premature if we don't know what we're granting. But I understand from Kevin's point of view and from the developer's point of view, they need to know if we'd be willing to accommodate more than the one primary use on that property. And because of the kind of different, unique nature of this parcel, the way it's been developed.
And again, that's basically what we're looking at. We're not, like I said, it would be great if I knew I had 3 users and they were using this, and that would be, but
Okay,
Yeah, so it's really a 300-foot view that we're looking at. You don't even know if these building configurations would be the same.
But no, and I'm not saying they would.
Yeah.
I mean, I just did that to kind of show a layout. I mean, it could be a million different variations of
That's not a
that.
big deal.
Okay, well, that definitely explains and clears up some of the confusion, because when I saw Home Depot or whatever the names are on there, I was thinking, oh, are they definitely coming?
Yeah.
Okay, Dave?
The first thing says, the proposed uses are those allowed in the ordinance by special exception. And we don't know what the uses are.
Right.
That's just number one. And, it's appropriate location for the use.
Yeah, but wait a minute, the use,
That's what
the
the
use is
ordinance.
what store, or the use is?
Retail
how many-
and restaurant.
This is,
What
the
kind of
use is
retail?
like, saying, well, if somebody wants to build, if they want to build a 5 or 6 unit little shopping mall, we don't get to say who goes into those stores. We're just reviewing the 5 or 6 units on that lot for a little shopping mall. I kind of picture this as the same thing, that we're looking at that lot with our criteria, and it's saying, well, it's got enough space, doesn't look like it'd be a big safety, blah, blah, blah. And we're not really getting specific. We don't have to nail him down to that exactly right now. Exactly what those uses are gonna be, because he may very well wanna, make this big building he has a little bit bigger and, configure the parking lot and everything else, and just have a little bar and grill.
Not to argue it with you, Tom, but how do you know if this is gonna be a nuisance to somebody else?
This is gonna be a nuisance to somebody
How
else?
do you know that?
Well,
You don't know what it
we
is.
should watch it, that's what we're watching for, but I think we'd have to do with the setbacks and everything.
Well, Dave, the proposed use, the application states that the uses would be retail and restaurant. Okay, it's not anything, any crazy thing that's gonna go in there. It's his application, this is the planner's review, that it's for a restaurant and retail, and it also has a statement on there that the 3 remaining points of this 5-point thing will remain unbuilt. So, I would just,
This area, right?
yeah, I just want to
4 points?
clarify that the
Well, these
application.
outside points here, talking about?
Well, that's what our planner's summary says, so I want to clarify that with Kevin. Are we, right now, what you're considering is just the 2 uses,
Yes, I guess.
or you
that-
don't know? You
Right,
just
I don't
know.
know. I
Just
don't know,
Okay,
actually, if it
well,
would be 2 or, or more.
I would have a hard time approving 5 units. I'd approve 2, because that was advertised.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe we can approve something that wasn't public noticed. This was, public noticed as 2 units.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
true.
it was.
Yeah,
If it
2
had been 5, there
uses.
might have been 100 people here, who
Right.
knows? Or it might have been nobody, I don't know.
I'm just wondering if it might be just a little premature without knowing what we're asking for to go in there. Or, I don't know if this is if we've ever done something like
if
sense of the
he's right,
board.
Dave's got it, the application says for 2 units, so.
Right, well, the
vote on
special
it.
exception is
Whether you like it or
specifically
not.
for 2 uses on the same
And if
lot.
they want to come back for 3 or 4,
Well,
then that's,
It actually reads more than 1,
What, the special exception?
yeah, in the zoning ordinance,
they need a special exception if there's more than 1.
more
use
than
on it.
1.
More than one primary use?
Yes, it doesn't specifically mention 2.
More than one primary use or more than one
Right.
primary building? That's the language.
Well, but I also say section 401, I'll get get it out. 401.1, to allow 2 primary structures on a lot.
That was his request.
Pardon?
That was the request that was turned in.
Okay, and that's how it's been presented before us before, 2 primary structures on a lot.
Correct, because nobody was contemplating more than 2. I think if we look
Okay.
back at
Well,
the-
our special exception, if we grant that, I feel that's what we could grant. If we were
I
granting
agree.
anything, it would be to grant 2 primary structures on a lot. And if they find somebody we're willing to do 2, then they want to find somebody who wants to come back and ask if they find out there's 3 or 4 or 5, then I would think that has to be another application. We can't grant, we're not here to grant special exceptions that,
Whatever you wanna do.
without something concrete in front of us.
Yes.
2 okay? Or,
or withdraw and wait until you have who you have.
Well, would we,
Two?
Wants to
Okay.
go with two.
Okay, two.
Because
All
I
right.
feel we can't do any more than that.
Okay,
Because that's
that's-
what
okay.
is in all of our materials and what has been noticed.
I agree.
And heard, okay? So, okay, well, I mean, I think we can advance on that
See what
premise.
the public has to say.
Yeah. Okay, and are we done for now with questions? Okay. Then I will open the public hearing and ask if there is anybody in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this application. Yes, Mrs. Sears.
Yes, I would like to speak in favor of it, and I like the idea of commercial cluster, because it's all right there, and, you know, not here, there, and everywhere, and it would, as far as people driving to get to what they want, it could all be there. And I just don't see a problem with it, so I'm all for it.
Okay, thank you.
Frank Miller,
Frank Miller?
seen this before. I walked this property with the planning board when Home Depot was considering it. And I think what we need to start thinking about when developing a commercial industrial is compatible, companion, conformal, compliant for a whole area. This property and the town and the environment would be better served if this property was developed singularly because it would mitigate the environmental issues and to have it be conformal and have the types of businesses that would be companion to that area needs to be considered as one, rather than looking at all these different ones who have different ideas on how they need to comply with mitigating issues. And as we develop 25, one of the chief mitigating issues we have is drainage. And unfortunately, the law, the rules, this body can only affect what goes to the boundary lines. Mother Nature doesn't care about ownership of boundary lines. You haven't properly focused on how all that water reaches the river, we end up with issues. And so this property was an old farmstead and has unique features and elements that need to be looked at in total rather than piecing it out. So if the view was looking at large acreage development, was compatible, companion, conformal, that's the design criteria, and compliance with all of the various functions of our site plan review and ordinances, zoning ordinances, I think would be better served to allow this to be
Take it to the
designed
planning
and
board.
built and supervised and
That's a planning board
by
issue.
a singular person or company or agency. And have multiple uses on site.
Yeah, I know, you should.
Okay, thank you. Frank? Yes, sir.
Russ Harris. I think, that the site will, it's gonna need to be developed, and I think it should be done the right way. So I don't think necessarily you should say, it can only be 2 buildings or 5 buildings. I think we can always come back in front of the board and decide what the right use for that unit is. But it's gonna be developed eventually, and I think as long as it's done the right way, Mike has done a really good job across the street with what he's doing there. So I just think the board should just be open to, if it's 1 building or 2 buildings or one complex similar to like what's up at the Hannaford complex, that that could be done.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes? Just a second. Mr. Freitas?
Freitas, obviously in favor of it. This town needs economic development. We've got to make up for the taxes that we're losing. We've got to make up for the revenue that we're losing from the state. We're going to lose more from the state this year. This is done in other towns. I think we're hung up on the exception being had meant for residential back in the day. We've never addressed it since then. It needs to be revisited, addressed. This is what other towns do to develop a parcel like this for commercial development. This is creative. commercial development by the owner and the engineer. Some of the things Frank brought up, not just the economy of scales, just the utilities alone. You can control it better, you can get more square footage, same usage of the utilities. We've got to make Plymouth attractive to these businesses to come in and find a place to land. We lost it once. It's our last chance.
Okay, thank you.
If,
Mr. Randlett?
Look, it's finished.
Yes, I'm in favor of this, and, you know, we look at the economic development, and this enables Mr. McGinley, if you look at most bigger stores, Home Depot, Lowe's, some of these, they always bring someone else with them, you know, whether it be a restaurant or some other store. This way, he has the ability to approach someone and say, we've got them coming with us. He doesn't have to go, and I think it's just a tool that he can use. We've asked him to, you know, work on this. He's bringing all these other things, and you know, like I say, I'm in favor of it. I think we need to, you know, give him the ability to market it this way.
Okay. All right, Jack, did you have something?
I would just like to suggest perhaps if the applicant would approve that we modify this to say multiple structures.
I think
Yeah.
that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I don't think we can do
But
that.
what we could say is we could say more than one.
I'm just not sure about hearing-wise, and I'm gonna I am gonna pull out my ordinance, so just so everybody knows.
Oh, where are you going to get that?
I'll just read the ordinance,
Oh,
the wording of
okay,
the
okay, I
ordinance.
thought you were-
I just want people to know that, you know, this board, we interpret what our ordinance says. It's not up to us to rewrite it or to, you know, we have some discretion to interpret, but we can't rewrite the ordinance. That's not our job.
You also can't rewrite the application.
Yeah.
That was the question.
It is public
Had this
record.
been termed in other ways, then it would have been accepted by the board as a complete application to use somebody else's term.
So they could pull this and modify it and
Correct.
resubmit it next.
I guess the question going forward, and it's kind of a difficult one to ask the board.
Public
is-
hearing over?
Yes, we're in the public hearing right now. So why don't we just wait? I just wanted to give everybody their say, and Jack wanted to say something. So why don't I ask if there's anybody who would like to say anything in opposition to this application? Do we have anybody here that's opposed?
Yeah, but you can't speak against it.
Okay, I see no one opposed, or anybody who would like to make a neutral comment? I see nobody here who'd like to make a neutral comment.
Well, maybe mine's a neutral comment, I'm not sure.
Okay.
We would be, if you would, since we don't have anybody that's, you know, now, we would be willing to rewrite the application and bring it back if that was something that was, you know, felt better about. And so,
Okay.
anyway, we don't.
Okay, let me close the public hearing and just look at, I just wanted the board to
Can I ask
review
Kevin a question?
401.1.
Is your client,
What's that?
would your client be satisfied if it were approved as submitted?
Well, I'll ask him. Would you rather bring it back or have it approved as tow?
I think I just assume bring it back.
Oh, okay.
Thank
I
you.
move we continue the hearing then.
Okay, then, I think that's a good solution, to continue. We did this once before, Brian. Is it motion to continue, or,
The question arises, is the application substantially different from the one before the board now?
Well, you'd have to judge that
Well, thanks, Dave.
when it comes to,
yeah, I mean,
But certainly, I mean, as far as continuation is concerned,
Yeah, but
we're all talking about the same thing, but if they come back under the same aegis with a different application, that's not quite a
no, you have to
continuation.
re-advertise it if it's different.
Yes.
right, so I'm just saying maybe we
this way,
should,
the worst case is that he just, if he wants to change this to 5, I'm not saying he does,
Right.
but if he wants to change it to 5, then we would be, if he re-advertised it and you re-noticed it, then then it would be moved on, but it's almost like doing a new application.
Otherwise,
It's exactly what it is.
But
Right,
that
It's a
would
new
But that
application.
would cover it.
right.
otherwise, we've continued it, and we just vote on the same application next time.
Right, so we shouldn't continue it.
Or I'm saying we could move on what we have in front of us, which is to have one, this is what the zoning ordinance says, 401.1. In every zone, only one main structure and 3 accessory buildings or uses customary incidental to it shall be allowed on a lot without a special exception from the Board of Adjustment. Okay? So it says one main structure and 3 accessory buildings or uses customarily incidental to it shall be allowed on a lot,
I
okay?
don't know if that solved anything. 'Cause
No,
I mean, I
Is
just-
one main structure, though, allowed to
They
have,
bring a Home Depot and they bring a
Multiple-
Arby's too.
Yeah.
That's like the accessory
Yeah.
structure.
like is,
Well, we're going to grant a special exception if the application can state what they want, and then we can grant it.
Or,
Madam Chair,
and,
was that
They- they
4011 that
yes,
you were reading?
401.1.
Okay.
Okay, and the point is either we can rule on this, and then they would have the prerogative to come back if they want to add to that. But at least that's granted. Otherwise, we could wait and have, they'd have to start the whole thing if they come back with 3 or 4.
Right, and that, it all hinges about the application before the board,
Right,
which is for 2 structures.
right. This is for 2 primary.
So in order for them to go forward, they could continue this, come back with the exact same application, and
If we
do it.
continue this, then this is the application
Yes,
when it comes back.
that's what I'm saying,
They could withdraw this application
Yes.
and replace it with a new one if they chose to.
correct. And I
So
believe
that gives
that
them the
the
maximum latitude to do what they want
the
to do.
developer indicated that.
Yeah, that's why I
You'd
said,
rather
let's-
just withdraw it.
that's why I said, let's continue it.
And bring in one with the, so
Continue.
it's properly noticed, so you get the number of units and everything else, rather than, I mean, I don't mind renoticing, Mr. McGinley's gotta pay fees anyway. So it's not a thing. I think that clears it up for everybody, and then we don't have to worry about the
I suggest-
procedural, if it's in a continuance, or is it this or that, so.
I suggest you take Home Depot off the application.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll do that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Put a
Okay,
note
so
on it.
that's-
So make a motion, we accept their withdrawal or what?
No, continuing.
What?
Motion to
Wanna continue.
continue.
Oh, no, he said he wanted to withdraw the application. That's what I thought, that's what I heard.
We're going to give them the maximum latitude. We continue it, they can withdraw it anytime.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so continue it, so he
They
can
can
come
come back with
back
an
with
amended
2
application next
buildings.
time in the continuance.
No, they have to re-advertise it if they've changed it.
Right,
Yeah.
but this
okay,
gives
so,
them
but
the
it would still be
option. Right.
continued.
If he comes
with
back
a-
with 2.
With
A
a
week from now, they
amended
might say,
application.
no, we're going to go with what we got, or a week from now, they might say, here's the new application, and
Very good.
here's what it is, withdrawing the old one.
Okay, all right, so we're understood. Motion to continue, that was by Tom. Second,
Second.
okay, by Dave. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, on that application. We appreciate your willingness to clarify
I'd also
for
like to
us.
point out something.
Okay,
A
Dave?
lot of the comments that were made
tax base.
really had to do with environmental issues,
could
which
use
are planning board issues, not
Right.
our issues.
Right. Okay, well, we can listen, Okay, now let us move to the third. Let's see, Harris Family Furniture, this is
Collect them all yourself.
continued.
I guess so.
Okay.
Oh, good, Karen, did take some of those copies. I hate-
Thank
Yeah,
you.
do you want,
Do you want those back?
yeah, why don't we take those so we can
Sure.
I folded a lot of them, but
No, she
out
might
again,
need
we
them in
can share it.
2025.
it saves on the paper, us feeling like we're
Thank you.
killing trees here.
Okay, well, I will
Wing it, I know what it said.
say we are considering case number 212019, special exception 100218, a request, oops, sorry, I got the
Wrong
wrong one.
one.
It's number
I was just looking.
1. It's number 1 here on our agenda. 110023, special exception, a request by Plymouth, I guess, LLC, for a special exception from Article 3, Section 304, area dimensions to allow a primary structure within the setback area in the village commercial zone. Ordinance allows both the front and rear setback to be
That's good,
0
Kevin. Okay.
inches in the village commercial zone by special exception. Is that 0 feet?
They come to here right now, right?
It must be in this,
They
this
come to
must be
here
here.
now.
Okay, here we go, Panther Pond.
See their buildings are next to them, come up that far.
Gotta get more people in there.
Setback more. It's kind of weird, have you been in there? You walk in there.
All right, Mr. French is also going to present this application
Been in once or twice.
by the owner of Panther Pub.
Hear that, yeah.
There's a fencing. Really use nothing
Oh, yeah,
to do.
there's that little street that goes down, and then there's the roundabouts.
Isn't there
Next
a
they'll
road
want,
there?
yeah, next they'll want.
I don't think.
Thanks.
Must be existing.
Who drew the panther?
10-foot extension out on the sidewalk.
Right now, when you walk in,
There's a table.
there's tables.
Gives them 5-foot clearance.
And there's nothing.
Yeah, the sidewalk area.
Yeah, it kind of intrudes into, it's really cold in the wintertime.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, so they're gonna go out,
This is the
put in all,
tree, this sidewalk.
and then this would be additional tables, so I think the restaurant stops here.
Yes, that's
Okay.
the present.
Walk into here where there's tables.
All right.
Okay.
Are we ready to listen to
Add all of
Kevin?
And yes, and this is the property, it's the Panther Pub, it's owned by Fly Main LLC. And what they're looking to do is to add on to the front of the building, and basically come out 10 feet with what's there, and add some seating in this area, and they want to have a covered enclosed entryway, so that kind of a airspace deadlock thing for people to come in and waiting in the restaurant. The application, the request in the application is the same. The narrative changes a little bit, because since I made the application here, one of the requests that I had in it was to remove this tree that's in this area here. And because I don't really want to have to leave the area, they've decided that they're going to keep that tree, so. And so anyway, that, in the application and the narrative, I had, was told about removing the tree, and this has been to the planning board also. This is in the planning board process.
Yeah.
And,
somewhere in front.
but what we do need are the special exception to allow the expansion into the setback area. And again, like I said, this is this is going through the planning board process now. We had one meeting, it's been continued, we're having a site visit on Thursday.
Oh, that's it, oh, sure.
And obviously, the proposed use is the same, it's a restaurant, it's just looking for expansion. And the basic, which isn't uncommon with the Main Street lots, a lot of the uses on them consume the whole lot. And most of them, or a lot of them along Main Street, all go back to the front line, go back to their front property line. And they're looking to, it's actually a little over a foot back from where the front property line would run, which leaves enough room for the sidewalk and things like that. Again, going through this with the planning board, one of the things that they had agreed to, the applicant, was this, because short area, the tree and the limitations, that they would maintain that front area of snow removal and things like that. One of the other things that, again, that came up in the planning board process was the window configuration that we show on there went down to, down quite a ways. They're gonna move those windows back up so that any snow doesn't, get against the window. And if there's snow, plowing that went through there, it wouldn't back up against the window. So, in that regard, the feeling is that this is a benefit to the business, so there wouldn't be any adverse effect to the area, and there wouldn't be any, undue burden put on the town. The only service that they presently have all the town services anyway, water, sewer, and that. The one thing, the service that they would have is the snow removal, and they've agreed to undertake that on their own. And there's, in the planning board process, one of the other things that came up in terms of safety and that was in the entryway, the doorway will be set back in so that when the doors open out, but they'll be recessed so that when they open out, they don't open into the street. They don't open beyond the front of the building. So basically, it'd be like a 3-foot alcove to go in. You open the doors, and they all open. It all open in with under the structure.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Mr. French?
I have one.
Stephanie?
When, where this poplar is, it looks like it's surrounded by granite curbing. There's enough space for a wheelchair to get through there?
Pardon me?
Is there enough space for like a wheelchair to get through there?
Yeah, there is, and in fact, we will maintain that. It says they have to have 5 feet.
5 feet.
Well, actually, I think
So
the
that's from this
requirement's
granite.
4, but the town wants 5, and there's more than that. And that,
From there to
and there's
there?
2 things. One, I don't think it's poplar.
It's a pear. We
what's
did
that?
find that out. It's a pear.
It's a pear, okay.
Pear
what?
tree?
A pear.
Pear?
It's a pear,
Partridge
yeah.
in a pear tree.
Yeah, wouldn't have guessed that one either. But anyway, and that measurement is actually from the,
Edge of the curbing?
well, no, well, it's
'Cause it looks
actually
like
from
it
the
goes
edge
to
of the
the
tree.
center, from
It's
the edge
not
of the
from the
tree.
middle of the tree. It's from the edge of the tree, so.
And then it says it's 14-inch poplar in granite curbing. It just doesn't say like how much space is from, because it goes obviously to where the tree is, from there to there is left. But there's at least 5 feet left
Yes.
from the granite
Yeah.
curbing.
Yeah, is this building as it exists already into the setback, into the?
Yes.
I thought so.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
by
yeah.
5 feet or 10 feet,
Yeah,
is it?
yeah.
I
There's
think
no setback in downtown.
What's that?
Well,
There's no setback.
They
right?
didn't used to be. A few years ago, they slipped a 15-foot front line setback in.
Oh, really? In all
there
the
is
village
supposed to
commercial?
be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in village commercial, 15 feet.
So it makes all those buildings that are built right to the street are, what do you call it?
Non-compliant.
Non-compliant.
Yes.
Well, they're complying if they get a special exception.
Exactly.
Love
Well,
it.
they are. I got a question. Is there a side setback requirement?
No.
No.
The setback in village commercial is 0 on the sides,
Okay.
10 on the back, and 15 on the front.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I just have to say, when I read this, when I read the application, I was concerned about being squeezed between the building and the tree. And then I saw the removal of the tree, and then I said, I walked down there, and there's only 2 trees really on that side of the road, and
I know.
so it's really a matter of, are we
That's a-
gonna approve,
That's a planning board issue.
yeah,
Right,
jutting
right.
out to,
I have some input on that when you're ready. Madam
yeah.
Chair.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear, that.
It's a narrow side of the
Planning board
street.
issues.
It's a narrow side.
Yeah,
of
it's
the
already narrow,
already
and
narrow.
the sidewalks
Streets
on
that
either
narrow.
side are really bad, very skinny and not a lot of space, so.
Do we hear
Brian,
from the
what did you
public?
have to say?
Late this afternoon, Scott Knapp from the New Hampshire Electric Co-op came by. You know that they've been trimming the rights-of-way in town. They have also looked at that, and if you go down in front of the Six Burner Bistro, that pear took a huge hit in the winter and is dying. The co-op and the town, he just started the conversation, and I'm trying to get paperwork out of him. Like I said, it was only this afternoon. they would like to replace those existing pear trees with a slower growing ornamental. That we would dig the hole and they would put the trees in. Probably something a little bit more salt resistant. I don't know if it comes into play on this because it hasn't been hammered out yet, but it is a consideration for that.
Okay.
And it would solve a lot of these problems if it went from a 14-inch to a 6-inch.
Right, okay, well, I just, I did also know from the past that there is something called a tree warden, or
Yes.
somebody's in charge of trees in the town, so I was worried about that, and I did
We
ask.
brought him in.
Yeah,
That's the
Paul.
town administrator.
Right, that's right, that our town administrator has been designated as that town warden, so I didn't want the zoning board to be approving something that was gonna tear down a tree without the proper person involved. So, okay, well, I'm glad to hear that that's being worked on at another,
And by the way,
Level.
and again, that's a planning issue, but we would love to entertain planting something different that, listen, because right now, this one is in the building, it's in the Y as, it's, so,
Okay.
yeah. that's-
all right, well, now
Like,
that's.
if you made it a condition that the tree had to go, yeah, that'd be fine, too.
Can't do
I don't
that.
know, I don't think
I
I
don't know,
wanna-
I couldn't do that
on
without
my
the tree
shoulders.
warden. The tree warden's got to sign off on that one. But,
Tree
so why
city.
don't we open the public hearing and ask the public if anybody would like to support this application?
Frank Miller, I stand in support of this application. Kind of a history of special exceptions granted was the Merritt Village Savings Bank. They moved into the setback area, which I stood in favor of. For people that don't know the town, 40 years ago, Chase Street Market used to be Volpe's, and we did the same. We moved the front out, but we had our doors protected so that when they opened up, they didn't hit pedestrians. Given the nature and the character of our types of businesses on our main street, obviously it was designed in 1763 with horses. We do have a unique situation, and I believe this applicant fits the intent and purpose of our design criteria and our zoning ordinance, and it would be to the interest of business and community that it seek approval.
That's nice.
The tree part, I believe that this is considered a hazardous tree, and there's an RSA that allows the coordinated people to remove and replace it. And I was part of the Main Street program to put in these other ornamental trees on Main Street. So that was one of our intents, is to soften some of the edges of buildings and put in some green. So I believe all the parties involved are trying to coordinate the effort to make this work. And I believe that it would be to the benefit of the people. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Frank. Anyone else in favor? Okay, anybody in opposition to the application? Yes, sir.
I represent the Plymouth Highway Department,
Okay,
so a lot of things you don't see, like we're out different hours at night plowing and stuff like that. We pulled the tape off that building, so if you put 10 feet out and then you put the tractor between that building and that tree, you have about 1.5 feet on each side of that tractor to go between that space. And the tree also comes up and it has a bend, so it's also very close to the top of the tractor also. So when you start adding the snow up, it makes a very narrow space for us to try to put our tractor through. And we talked with the owners and talked with everybody, but the simple matter is, it's just a very narrow spot for us to get through with our tractor. And that tractor costs a lot of money. And then if you give them the right to plow it, to maintain it without us going through there, then you open up a liability. And so I just want to make an awareness that it's just creates an issue. And one of the other things that I noticed was I didn't, on the site review plan, I didn't see how the roof line worked, where the water came off on
Forward.
the building, how it impacts the sidewalk there.
Okay.
And that granite curb that you were talking about on the tree,
Yeah,
just picture the edge of that sidewalk tractor right at the edge of that granite curb. 'Cause
Right.
that's exactly where that tire sits. And it goes straight up, so you got 1.5 feet beside that tree.
what if the tree wasn't there?
Then it would be, then it would work, but now you're talking about putting another tree back there.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So, that being said, we struggle with those trees down there, even though they look good. If they're gonna come down, maybe we could plant some trees in a different area where they wouldn't grow up and be in the way of the wires and in front of the buildings. And I really no committee, but like just putting them back there, you're gonna create the same scenario. Take it out and put another one back.
Okay.
Tree City 20 years later.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for speaking. And is there anyone with any neutral comments? Or anyone like to say anything at all? Okay, I would like to close the public hearing. Thank you for your input. Now, board like to discuss or make findings?
I'd like to discuss.
Okay, Dave?
I think a valid point was raised about the watershed coming forward. How, what's gonna happen with that water? Come off the roof?
Yeah.
Or ice, or icicles, or whatever, snow?
Yeah.
Most of the Main Street roofs are all flat.
That's right, they collect the water and they put it somewhere else.
Yeah, some water.
So this picture shows, this is a roof right here,
Yeah.
and that's coming out
Right.
onto the sidewalk.
Do they have a plan to maintain that, or the drainage for water, the gutter pipes, or?
Something.
Kevin, do you know? On this drainage, you brought up a good point on the drainage. And do you know how they would handle this water runoff? Just let it run onto the street?
I think it sheds that way. I mean,
Okay.
It was made a condition that we had to gutter it or something.
You're gonna have to, I would think, because in the wintertime, that would freeze up
Yeah.
and create another problem for,
Right.
when he's talking about the tree.
That's a good point.
The other question I have right now, does anybody know, I've walked this a million times, but I can't remember, is this a one-way street?
Yes, it is, one
Is it
way down.
Down,
Yeah.
okay, good,
Yeah.
okay, good,
You can come up the other way.
yeah, okay, good.
Okay. All right. Any other considerations or concerns before we go into facts?
I think we ought to discuss the tree. I mean, that's the
I know.
only,
I know that we don't have any say over the tree, though. But it does seem like it, just practicality, that there's no reason why I feel like we shouldn't be able to say that they should get rid of the tree and find a different, more appropriate spot for the tree.
well, number 5 talks about us having a burden on the town services.
Right,
I mean, that is what he presented was, we got a
Yeah,
burden on the
that's
town here. How are they gonna plow?
Right, or ruining the snowplow as it goes by, kicking up the granite curbing. But I knew that we could get into a sticky wicket with, approving something with this tree, because it's not not within our purview to say you can remove a tree. It's up to the tree warden of the
Or
town.
we can make it a condition of
We
approval.
could make it a condition, and then they could pursue getting that tree removed. Which personally, I think is very reasonable. Not for the condition, but to actually remove the tree.
I think we should have a condition on the water.
So what are you thinking about, putting it in gutters?
I don't
Do
know.
gutters even work up here? Does anybody really have
we
gutters?
can put electric tape in them.
For rain, yeah, but when the ice comes, just
Put electric
Then you put ice cocks up so it doesn't slip
tape
off the
them up.
roof.
stops it from,
Yeah.
It'll drip, but it
You can't
won't.
you can't have that stuff falling down on the sidewalk. I mean, that's kind of normal building.
It's just gonna freeze. It's what,
yeah.
what happens too.
The
outside
condition
your
has to,
home.
the condition has to be they collect the water from the roof and divert it from the sidewalk and the like.
Well, I don't know. I'm also.
You say they,
Can't put it in the
did I
snow.
hear that they were gonna be responsible for maintaining the front of this area?
That, they had agreed to that at that, when the planning board meeting, yeah, that was one of
They
the.
did.
So in other words, they're telling the driveway, the plowman to just go out and come around it again.
Well, I guess not, he doesn't have to move the snow in front of it, because one of the things they were concerned about is where's the snow go?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
so they said they would remove the snow, so they would be in charge. And are there other people on Main Street that that kind of take care of their own?
I'm not sure. There's one place in front of the Lucky Dog, there's meters there where the town can't get through because they have meters.
Oh, yeah.
So we can't plow it, so those owners take care of that themselves.
And doesn't I think Main Street Dental takes care of theirs.
No, we drive right in front of their building.
Just the sidewalk, right?
Correct.
Well, when this,
That poses a problem though when you do that. You know, you have to, because there's cars parked all along Main Street,
right.
so you just can't randomly find a place to jump off the sidewalk. So if you plow to a certain point,
It's
then you have to
unworkable.
back up
Mm-hmm.
and work around cars. It's just, these are the
Okay.
things I'm trying to not create, is a scenario where there's a safety issue.
Okay.
They're under a glacier about 4 months of the year.
Right. No, and it's a lot of snow,
6.
so, all right. Well, I don't know. What do other people feel about the
What the
tree?
planning board found?
I kind of, when I walk down, there's only 2 trees down there on that
I think if you
side.
ask Jack,
It's so
he
narrow.
knows about what they talked about at the
Jack?
planning board.
We discussed this issue and supported keeping the tree possibly with trim backs on the sidewalk. The sidewalk's 5 foot wide, the town plow is 5 foot wide. They have clearance.
Okay.
Um,
Keeping tree.
And I would recommend, if we do anything, keep the tree, but if you want to do something else, take it out, transplant it, and put in something more suitable.
Something
would
smaller.
make-
or whatever.
Yes, that
Tulip.
is not as growth prevalent.
Okay, well, that's definitely a planning board issue. What kind of tree or what to do with that and our tree warden. So, okay, well, why don't we make some findings? Let's see.
Uses allowed by special exception. Okay, well,
Well, it's a good starter.
that was a good.
A special exception. All right, what is the size of the lot here? It's a
.05
.05 acre, so .05 acre lot.
.05 and
Already, it's already
it's maximizing their
Drainage of the roof.
size.
the setback.
what they say.
It was pre-existing to the setback.
It was.
Oh, shit.
Right, already into the setback. And we would say pre-existing zoning regulation.
30 by 30 or what?
It's gonna leave us a 5-foot sidewalk.
They're not gonna come out
Proposed
35,
addition
5 feet, 60, 30
Will-
by 60.
leave 5-foot sidewalk
And a tree.
and a pear tree, a granite encased, I don't want to say that, pear tree.
You're right, Kevin, that's taking up a
Can I
lot of
say
time.
something, Patricia?
Tree.
What's that?
You're right, that tree's taking up a lot of time.
Yeah.
I'm not ready for number 4 yet,
Okay,
when we get there.
okay. Number 4. Oh, we're not,
No, I know we're not.
Oh, okay.
But when we get there, I'm gonna have a problem with number 4, because we don't have an explanation of how they're gonna deal with water and ice from the roof.
Yeah.
We don't have an explanation of what's actually gonna happen to the tree or the town plow. I think that's gotta get settled some way or another. It is a nuisance unless we have an explanation of how that's gonna occur. I think they ought to be allowed to do it, but they gotta provide us with that information so that it doesn't become a nuisance.
Is intent with a condition enough to satisfy that?
Can you say that word again?
Because it's a withdrawable special exception, should they not design it to be compliant with the rain and the, clearance issues.
And who's gonna decide if they are?
Well, based on actual, in the field experience versus, the roundtable discussion, I guess, obviously a triggering event would be somebody slipping and falling in the ice.
That's no good.
But no, I'm not advocating that by any means. But at site plan review, which they are bound to in 2 days to finish up their continuance, any conditions brought forward by this board will be attached to the site plan review process.
I'm ready to add some conditions then, that's good. I can deal with that.
If that's the key to an approval or a disapproval of this, then that should go, because that throws it back in the proper venue. But with oversight, to answer your question, Dave.
Right, well,
Yeah, I don't think we have to do much more than put conditions, says that, the tree and the water dripping down on the, or ice falling down on the street, is the sidewalk is a problem. And it's gonna be remedied,
They have to
specifically.
provide engineering and a plan for how they're gonna deal with
Yeah,
those issues.
Yeah,
That's reasonable.
water,
Because that's an issue that does cross between the boards, because of the public safety idea. And
so that's our tree, though. That's the town's.
yeah, it's
yes,
the
it is
town's
a town
tree
tree.
that was planted, yep. So, okay, well, we have facts. It's, use is allowed by special exception, .05 acre lot, already into, building. It already is into the setback, which was pre-existing under the, pre-existed the zoning regulation. Proposed addition will leave a 5-foot sidewalk with a granite encased pear tree. Water, runoff
From the roof.
from proposed roof, needs to be addressed.
So if there's a 15-foot setback, why isn't this a?
Okay, we're gonna add that as a condition, that the tree,
It's a
the
pre-existing
tree is
non-conforming building.
resolved to the satisfaction of the planning board, and the
That
water.
came in 100 years after.
So that the town plow can operate safely.
Safely.
Yep, so, town plow can safely operate. Okay. That's a condition, so we have 2 conditions. Water, any other fact we want to say?
Nobody opposed?
No
Opposition?
one opposed. At hearing,
There was one opposed.
one. Oh,
Opposed. You
yes,
just
we
said
did,
no one
sorry.
was opposed.
Yeah, we
had
did. We
one
had the
person
highway,
opposed,
the highway.
department.
Yeah, the highway
Highway
department.
department
One
opposed.
pro, one opposed.
One citizen supported, okay,
It's on the condition of the tree.
okay.
Take the tree.
We have the tree and we have the water onto the street resolution. Okay, so do we want to go through our criteria?
Sure.
Number 1, the proposed use shall be only those allowed in the ordinance by special exception.
True.
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 Number 2, the specific site is an appropriate location and of adequate size for the use.
True with its conditions.
Okay. True with conditions. Stephanie?
True.
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 Okay, so I say true with conditions. Okay, everyone else is true. Number 3, the use as developed will not adversely affect the character of the area in which the proposed use will be located.
True with conditions again.
True.
Okay, true with conditions.
True.
True.
Okay. Number 4, there will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians.
Can you read the conditions that you've written, please?
Okay, the conditions that there is a a plan developed to the satisfaction of the planning board regarding the replanting or continued care of the pear tree.
Highway Department.
So that the town plow can safely operate. Okay, and 2 is a plan to, I didn't have anything, water, take care of the water problem from the roof.
A concrete plan to deal with the runoff from the roof.
Plan to
Prevent the
concrete
runoff
plan
from reaching the sidewalk.
Yeah, there you go, okay.
with water onto street.
It's the sidewalk that's the problem.
Oh, onto the sidewalk,
Mm-hmm.
from the roof, okay.
Trying to think of other buildings.
I think having heard what town guy said from the highway department, causing the plow to come on and off of the sidewalk, that'll be a nuisance to the town.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what'd you say?
You can't get off the sidewalk and go
No,
down
I
the road and get back on again.
I know, and I thought that would be an awful hodgepodge. I mean, the town's responsible for the
Be a hardship.
sidewalk. They can't say, oh, well, you can do this, but you gotta take care of it. I mean,
Yeah.
that seems crazy. They gotta be able to take care
You
of the
have to be able to
sidewalk.
get the plow through there.
Yeah, that,
Okay, so that's our condition, though, regarding the tree. It would be to the satisfaction of the planning board so that the town plow can operate.
I would suggest
Safely.
adding planning board and highway department.
yeah, that's,
Yeah. Okay, so plow can, all right, so resolve to planning board and highway department satisfaction. Okay,
And make the planning board responsible for the water runoff, too.
Mhm.
The site plan review.
right, well, I mean, they will address that with the site plan review, right? Those are our 2 conditions.
Yeah,
We
I
don't
mean,
have any.
it's kind of a referral back to them.
Yeah,
It's
we
okay
don't
with
have
you,
any-
but take care
We'll
of this.
continue
Do
on then,
that.
thank you.
So, okay, so that's what, when we are voting on number 4, there will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians. That's
true,
including our
those,
conditions.
yeah.
Yeah, with the conditions, that's true.
yeah.
Okay, Tom, that's the same thing. Stephanie?
True with conditions.
Okay. I agree, true with conditions.
True
Okay.
with conditions.
Okay,
True with conditions.
okay. Everybody believes that's true with the conditions that we've added on. Okay, number 5, the use will not place excessive or undue burden on town services and facilities.
Same thing, true with
Yep,
conditions.
true with 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 conditions.
Okay. All right. And number 6, there would be no significant effect resulting from such use upon the public health, safety, and general welfare of the neighborhood in which the use would be located.
Conditions, too.
Okay? True with conditions,
Yep.
everybody?
Yes.
True.
Okay, true with conditions. All right, so then I would entertain a motion to approve the special exception with the 2 noted conditions attached.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Butch, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved with conditions. Thank you.
Oh, you earned your keep tonight.
Your work
I think
today.
Dave made it.
Oh,
Dave made the motion and Butch seconded.
and Butch seconded,
you.
yep. Okay, then.
Should have listened to you about that tree.
Great. Yeah.
Water,
Oh,
We can move
trees.
them in other places too, all right?
I'm having to pay so hard for those trees that I have.
All right, well,
Not only do they make you work every
Well, the ones
year, but
downtown, of course, they collect the water.
$1,500.
All the other ones downtown have flat roofs. It collects the water and doesn't come on the sidewalk.
Yeah, right.
Beautiful though. Thank you.
Yeah, they do. I love it. I don't.
Provide shade.
They are good for us.
All right, do we have any unfinished business? Mr. Murphy?
No, Madam Chair, we do not.
Okay, any new business?
There were none. There was no correspondence directed towards the ZBA.
Okay. And communication or other business? I see none. How about adjournment?
We got anything scheduled for next month already?
Yes, there is one case.
And we've got
Our
the
old
con-
friend 16 Pleasant is coming back about parking,
And we've got the continued matter as well.
and the continuing matter as well. Yes.
Okay, entertain a motion to adjourn?
We adjourn.
Okay, Dave, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, aye. And that is at